we've heard there's a few more people kind of wandering in. I think people kind of got excited about the fire truck, and so they're over there making their way across over here. So we might wait a minute or two to get started. So, you guys want me to sit up here with you?
Yeah, if that's okay. If there's like questions at this.
Oh yeah. All right. I'm sorry?
How long will this take?
So I believe we'll just have a quick video and then kind of a Q&A,
Yep.
just presentation, and then kind of break off one-on-one if there's any kind of specific
That's
questions. Does that sound about right?
So the video and the presentation part should be like 10 to 15 minutes, up to 20, and then we'll do Q&A as a group, and then afterward we can do individual Q&A if we want to do specific. And we'll also have Patrick here with us, and if any of you guys want to need help with account opening, we can help with that as well. Yep.
Okay. Well, I will go ahead and get started. So I'm Brian Kidney. I'm the finance director here at the City of Lawrence. I've been here for a couple years. One of the things that when I'm issuing debt is one of the major assignments that I have is handle the debt management program for the city. So we issue debt a couple times a year. One of the questions I do get from citizens is, how do I invest in City of Lawrence bonds? And typically, as if any of you have before invested in city bonds, typically you'd go to a broker or some other avenue and then get an account at a brokerage firm or somewhere, and then do a bond purchase, typically at a $5,000 increment or a maturity or a $5,000 security. And so again, it's something I've always wanted to do is to be able to do what they call mini bonds, offer it at a lower price, more at the $1,000 amounts. And it's in order to do that, it takes a lot of administration and cost to do so. For instance, the City of Denver does it every 4 or 5 years, I think they do it. And it just takes a lot of time and effort because it's a very manual process. Instead of issuing, $5,000 increment, you're issuing a bunch of 1,000. I think they may even go lower on theirs. And so it's something that's always been cost restrictive for a municipality to do. So earlier or late last year, a firm called Neighborly started was a startup company and started offering the ability to do direct sales to people at the $1,000 level instead of like a $5,000. So actually, in essence, doing mini bonds where I'm able to still offer the financings to a bank like Neighborly, but they have an avenue to be able to turn around and then do them in $1,000 blocks instead of the $5,000 blocks. And so they had a contest, entered it, and it wasn't necessarily because we got a free underwriting cost to do it. It just seemed to make sense. There's multiple financings that the city did. Yesterday we issued $20 million of debt, and a typical normal competitive debt. So we are always in the market doing this. But what this Neighborly bond opportunity gives us gives opportunity for citizens to kind of first take a look at it, and if the rates and the terms seem good to them, then they have the opportunity to buy them at the $1,000 directly before then the bank would pick up the rest. So that's just kind of a quick introduction. Was there anything? No? So this is representatives from Neighborly, Pitachoke, and Patrick, and they'll talk a little bit. I think they have a presentation and then take question and answers.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Sure.
I got here late and I have a hearing deficiency. Do you have anything printed that you could, handouts that you can give us?
We don't have anything printed, but we can give you a URL, a website where you can go see all the details. Would that work? After.
Can you,
I'm sorry.
or you can go online.
What?
He'll give you the website where you can go online.
Okay.
Okay, yep.
I'm logged in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we'll work with you after. Yeah. My name is Pity Chok, and I'm the Director of Business Development at Neighborly. And I'm joined by Patrick Hosty. He is the Managing Principal at Neighborly Securities. And just to let you know, we are a registered broker-dealer, so we will be the underwriter of this transaction. And this is the disclaimer for today's presentation. And we're also a member of FINRA and SIPC. Just to give you some background, the use of proceeds for this bond will go toward a fire truck for the Lawrence Douglas County Fire Medical Department, which serves the city. As Brian has said, the denomination is $1,000 instead of $5,000, which to make it more accessible to the residents of Lawrence and the state of Kansas as well. This enables to allow people to be a part of this investment, and the Bond Council has determined that this is tax exempt at both federal and state level, but please consult your tax advisor to confirm. The size is $654,000, and the order period will open tomorrow at 9 a.m. And it's expected to close on Friday at 5 p.m. However, if the bond is sold out before Monday at 5 p.m., we may close the order period sooner. Just a little bit about Neighborly Security. We are a marketplace for municipal bonds, and our mission is how we can make municipal bond more accessible to people. So one of the ways we do that is by reducing the denomination. Another way is that we also have a brokerage account that you can open with us online on neighborly.com. We don't charge fees at the moment, and then you'll be able to open an account and invest. Neighborly is actually founded at Kansas City, Missouri, so just right down the road. And we have office in San Francisco and New York as well. So as Brian has mentioned, Lawrence was a part of the Neighborly Bond Challenge last year and was selected to be one of the 5 cities to issue mini bonds with us. We issue mini bonds for the residents of Cambridge in Massachusetts, as well as residents of Burlington in Vermont earlier this year in February and March. And Lawrence will be the 3rd city, and we're very excited to be here in the Midwest. So Neighborly bonds is very similar to traditional municipal bond, is that in almost every aspect except that the unit or the denomination is $1,000 instead of $5,000. And that is it. And I have a quick video to show.
At Neighborly, we're transforming how cities finance projects such as parks, green energy, and sustainable transit systems. Every day, cities and public agencies raise $1 billion to fund these projects through the municipal bond market. They borrow money from investors and pay it back over time. In theory, anyone can invest in these projects, including local households. But to issue municipal bonds, cities typically pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees and spend several months on paperwork. And fewer municipal bonds than ever before are being purchased by local households. So what if cities could reduce the cost of getting projects done and enable local community members to invest directly in the places they love? Neighborly is here to help. Here's how. The Neighborly Issuance Platform allows cities to propose projects and open those investment opportunities to everyone. Instead of hourly fees and lengthy wait times, cities use the platform to lower costs and issue bonds securely and efficiently. Local households and professional investors use Neighborly to discover, follow, and invest in the projects they're interested in. After the bonds are sold, cities use Neighborly to stay connected with investors and keep them informed about projects. Cities and the people they serve working together to invest for the future. Come join the future of public finance with Neighborly. Please visit neighborly.com for full terms and conditions.
So many of you are probably wondering what will the interest rate be, and I'll pass it on to Patrick to discuss about that, and then we'll open up for questions.
So currently we have to talk in generalities until the city actually releases the scale. So we did have a conversation with Brian today, and we are in line to release the pricing tomorrow morning. These will be serial bonds, which means the bonds will, I'll try to speak up for you. Bonds will have maturities ranging from 2018 to 2027 with a interest rate priced at par between 0.95% and about 2.4%. So it'll be laddered again from the 0.95 to the 2.4. And again, that's the price talk that the city has agreed to today for the possibility or for the expected release tomorrow morning when the bonds go on sale. So again, the price is, while we expect to release properly, I must disclose that it has not yet been released by the city, but we do expect pricing to happen on time and within that range. So if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to communicate that. As Pidichuk mentioned, Neighborly was founded in Kansas City, a small little coffee shop right across from our current offices. With the discussion I had with the technologist about how frustrating it is to communicate with investors on the pricing date. So I've been in the industry for a little over 17 years. It's been a dream of mine to connect investors to the issuers that in the towns that they live in. So it's a passion of mine. I'm a little bit of a bond geek. We've got a lot of technology people at our company, and I think I'm the original bond geek at the firm. So if you have any questions or if I can help connect to the city, I'd be happy to do that. Yes, sir.
Please give us some details about establishing an account with Neighborly.
Okay, so we're what's called an introducing broker-dealer. So we have a firm that we have partnered with that does our back office operations, like custodying the account. So your account would be with Neighborly Securities as an independent broker-dealer, but we do partner with a separate firm in order to help with all of the back office paperwork. So you would go on to the website at neighborly.com. If you complete the account process, you would then be completing an account form with Neighborly Securities. You would be setting up your payment method when you do that. Should you order bonds and your bonds are allotted to you, we would then draw on those funds to pay for the securities.
Yeah, okay, setting up the payment method means what?
So we accept ACH, so an automated
What?
ACH payment. So we ask our customers to connect directly with the bank so that we can pay for the bonds in an efficient manner.
So that's how you do it. Oh.
In other words, you withdraw account, right?
You would withdraw from your, like, once you pay like you would on any other product online. Once you pay and connect your bank account, that payment is your authorization to pay for the bonds into your brokerage account.
Go down to that account.
Yes, sir.
So here, if you go to our website, neighborly.com/Lawrence, there's a sign up link here where you click, and then you can go here, sign up, and then you type in your name, email address, phone number, and then toward the end, we will ask you for your bank account information. If you use one of the larger banks, like Bank of America or Chase or Wells Fargo, you can just log in online into your bank account to connect. Or if you use one of the smaller banks, you will just need your checkbook. We'll ask you for your routing number as well as account number and a picture of a voided check, or better yet, a deposit slip that also have both of those numbers to confirm the number as well as your ownership of the account.
I have a couple of questions. I set up an account, and for those of you who haven't, when you get to the bank part, it's a little bit complicated. I had to
Good feedback.
photocopy a voided check, and then I had to turn it in. I turned it into a PDF, and then I attached it, and because my bank wasn't on there, so it was a little bit complicated, but I got it done. And then, but now my question is, so tomorrow at 9 a.m., do I need to jump on there, log in, and then what?
You'll see the full scale of the transaction. So you'll see bonds from 2018, 2019, 2020, and so on. You'll have the ability to pick which one is best for your particular
Each one has a
situation.
different percentage?
Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
the longer the maturity, the higher the risk.
Okay.
So the higher the return.
And these are first come, first served, right?
Yes, ma'am. Based on
Once it's gone, it's gone.
So when the citizens of Lawrence have the first order of priority. So if you have I assume you live in Lawrence, so with the Lawrence zip code, when you've set up your account, that will give you the first order priority for these particular bonds.
So do I need?
I'm extremely disappointed that you folks don't have some handouts that we can sit down and look at. I think it's a poor presentation, and I'm not interested.
Do I go to the /Lawrence?
Correct, yes. So if you go to neighborly.com/Lawrence, you will land on this page. And then there is a tab called Investment Options here. And when you click on the investment options, you tomorrow at 9 a.m. there will be the maturity as well as the interest rate listed here, and you can pick and choose. Say
Then
you
choose how much?
how many bonds you want in each. Yeah.
Okay.
You can pick from multiple, like 1 from 1 year, or like 5 from 10 years, and then you will go through the checkout process there. Yeah.
And all in increments of 1,000.
Correct. Yes.
ma'am. And we apologize that we're building an online marketplace. So while most of this information can be printed, and we do encourage everyone to read and review the preliminary official statement, which is the document that talks about the transaction in absolute details. We do have links to all of those documents online. It includes the city's finances. It includes information about this particular transaction. There's a section about risks. So I would encourage everyone to please look at the preliminary official statement. Again, the bond geek here is like making sure that we read all of our documents. There's plenty of fine print, but we decided to come here too to also address the citizens of Lawrence so that we can answer those questions, direct you to the online marketplace so that we can build a technology company that can, again, connect individuals to the issuers that they care about.
I believe there's,
The account, we still have to go ahead and put our bank information in there even if we decide not to buy a bond, right?
Yeah, if you decide not to buy a bond, you don't have to, we're not gonna set up an account.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, we can't even look to see what the interest rate is till we set up an account, is that right?
No, sir. The interest rates, as Pitachuk mentioned, will be listed on the website. But again, it's first come, first served. And we don't want anyone to be rushed when they're trying to make an investment decision, which is why we're trying to communicate the information well in advance. So that you have the opportunity once you do, if you do like the interest rate and it is suitable for your particular situation, that you have the opportunity to click that button and be first in line.
Yeah, but just to be clear that everyone will be able to see the interest rate without an account, just go to neighborly.com/Lawrence.
And the interest rate does change with the length of the bond, is that?
Yes, sir. Just like most investment products that have a very short duration will have a market interest rate, and then those that have a long duration, the risk is higher for the investor because they're taking longer to get their principal back. So the interest rate, the investor should expect a higher interest rate for the longer the duration of the bond.
Back there?
I have 3 or 4 questions, so if anybody else wants to jump in and raise their hand. How long has Neighborly been around? Did I hear about a year?
No, ma'am, we were founded in 2012.
2012. And who is the corresponding firm that does your back office operations?
Hilltop Securities. Are you with the press? Just a.
No, I was a reporter for 20 years.
Okay, that's what.
It's scarier. I grew up and became spokeswoman for the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Oh, okay.
I just use reporters' notebooks because they're handy. So $1,000 minimum, is there a maximum?
Yes, 654,000 would be our maximum.
Okay. Well, and then that's, my question for Brian is, I'm just curious, I moved to Lawrence, Washington DC 7 months ago. Why did this route make more sense than just borrowing $645,000 in this interest rate environment?
Sure, and again, so yesterday we did issue $14 million in debt in the traditional method that we would do is through a competitive sell. In fact, the interest rates that we've been discussing with Neighborly pretty much matched the interest rates that the city got yesterday. So that was my primary, right now there's a couple dozen in this room, and I really want to make sure that you are all treated well and great opportunity. My ultimate is I work for 90,000 citizens that want to make sure they get the best interest rate and don't pay too much in interest rate, which I think is kind of what the thought is. So I looked at this pretty closely. Since we were doing a competitive sale, and I'll tell you, there's somewhat of a wall. My job is to get the best interest rate for the city to pay the least amount. Their job is try to get the highest interest rate in order to sell them then to the ultimate people. So there's always a little bit of give and take on that. So that's why I timed this sell to happen at the same time we have the competitive sell. So I know what the market interest rates are for the citizen side to make sure we're not overpaying interest rates. When the opportunity came up, the offer on the table to the city was that there's not an underwriter fee. So we're actually not paying an underwriter fee for this transaction. And so as a result, I'm not paying, I can't think off the top of my head what the underwriter fee was on the other deal. That the city, when we issue debt, we do have fees associated. One of them is an underwriter fee where I pay a firm so many dollars to go out and sell. It's basically the commission that the underwriter firm takes on the deal. I didn't have that on this transaction. And so I felt that it was, honestly, cost versus cost. It really was not a difference between the competitive sell that I had yesterday and this sell. The added advantage was giving the opportunity to get more citizens engaged in their community and on the finances. So that's kind of where I was going on it, where first of all, I wasn't risking anything to the 90,000 citizens that we have, and at the same time, having this opportunity to do something.
And if I would just add, one of the benefits of a negotiated sale, which is what we have for this transaction, is you can set the order priority. So the city has the ability in a negotiated sale to offer these bonds first to its citizens. In a competitive sale, its biggest bank, biggest pocketbook is going to come in and they have the first opportunity for these bonds. I would know we participated and actually bought some of the bonds yesterday. So in advance of the sale tomorrow. From our perspective, I think it allows the citizens the opportunity when a city does do a competitive sale, the opportunity to take advantage of the benefits of a negotiated sale by offering them to their citizens, which is why we're all sitting here right now, which is kind of cool because now you guys have the opportunity to participate in a sale that's at it's at market rates for a transaction that you probably didn't have access to yesterday when they went on sale with your broker. you didn't, I would be curious if anyone got a call today to say, hey, there were some Lawrence Green bonds issued today. Did you have a chance to buy them? And, you know, with Neighborly, we felt from, you know, at least from my heart, that people should have the opportunity to know about those transactions and to participate in those transactions when they come about. So I don't know if that answers
Yeah.
all of your
Just
questions,
last two
but
quick ones. You
sure.
said no fees for signing up for an account with you guys?
okay, yeah. So typically with a bond purchase, on a new issue bond purchase specifically, the issuer will pay the fees because it's included in the transaction called an underwriter's discount. And on this particular transaction, Neighborly has waived the underwriter's discount on the bonds. So, you know, we're doing that at the benefit to get people to engage in an online presence to offer bonds. Now, there are fees associated if you ever want to sell, or I can't predict the market. There was a gentleman here earlier that was talking about what happens if I need to sell in a few years, and you know, if you need to sell in a few years, you're going to be at market rates. So you could make money, you could have to pay money to sell that. I can't predict that. Likewise, if depending on the type of account you're setting up, or if you're going to transfer funds, I would encourage you to look at our customer information brochure for a full list of fees, depending on your situation, that if that particular situation requires something unique, that you're not surprised. But on this transaction, we're not going to charge a commission, and we are not taking a underwriter's discount on this transaction.
Last two, I promise. How often is interest paid, and is there a chance of early redemption on any of the
So,
ladders?
this is it's a typical municipal bond. The maturities are in September, right? We're doing September.
March.
Okay, so March and September is an interest payment based on and they're all par bonds, so it's basically the $1,000 times the interest rate that's posted on the coupon on the bar. So it's twice a year.
And early redemption?
Oh, I'm sorry, and these do not have any a call provision on them, so they will be held out to maturity.
So once they mature, then is there a fee to get our money back, or how do you get your
No,
money
ma'am.
back? I don't know anything about
So
that.
that's one of the reasons we set up an ACH, is for that particular situation.
Please
So
say
that,
what ACH is, because I don't know.
Automated clearinghouse?
yes, ma'am. So it's
Say it louder.
I will. So ACH, Automated Clearinghouse, I believe someone made that comment. And it's basically, and it's become more and more common. I know I pay most of my utility bills. Hopefully you pay your utility bills by giving your checking account, the routing number, and the account number. And then when the utility bills come up, the city, I literally, it's through the bank, we go in and grab the dollars out of your account based on that routing number and that account number. That's simply what we're referring to as ACH.
So what we're doing is we're connecting your bank account to your brokerage account, so that when you want to purchase bonds, you can do so in a more seamless fashion. Moreover, when those bonds pay interest, you can get the interest potentially faster. And lastly, when the bonds mature, you could then choose to have those funds go straight back into your account and rinse, repeat, and buy more bonds, or use it to go on vacation, or whatever your particular situation calls for. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so have you been telling us that, say, if I decide to buy a $1,000 bond, I'm going to pay exactly $1,000 and get a $1,000 bond? There won't be any fee added?
Yes, sir. On
Okay.
this transaction.
Yeah,
So it's your choice. It's your choice, and then depending on the maturity that you pick, will determine the interest rate that you should expect on interest payment date.
yeah.
And when it matures, is there a fee then to get it back?
No, ma'am.
to your bank or whatever? Okay.
I do want to point out, I want to make that comment, that when it matures, yes, there's not a fee. We pay the interest and we pay the principal. Again, I want to remind, we are a AA1 rated community, fairly low risk. But I do want to, I'd be remiss if I didn't make the comment. He did mention that if you want to sell before maturity, that he's unsure of what that extra cost might be, or the liquidity behind that might change that. But at maturity, then the city would be paying both the principal and that interest due in that 6 months.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple questions. One is, did you say we get an actual physical bond?
No, ma'am.
No.
These are all book entry bonds.
Okay, okay. And do we get a notice of some sort from the website? I mean,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
that sounds silly.
Sure. Yeah, you will get like a trade confirmation email that we will send over to you once the bond deliver. You can log in and see that. And also at the very end, we will also send out survey, and then if you fill in the survey, we'll send you like a memento, like usually a sticker or something like that that shows that you have invested in your community. Yep. But we move away from the physical certificate bond, which
I just
yeah.
thought it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, when we sign up, do we say how we want these registered, like to us individually? And what if we want to change the registration partway through it, with different names or?
Certainly. So that would depend on how your account is initially set up. So right now we're supporting individual accounts, and situations change. So I mean we deal with that on a case-by-case basis, and we'd have to work with you personally based on your situation.
We just
So probably not a.
Do we call a customer service number if we want to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. You can call customer service, or you can just email us support@neighborly.com.
Okay.
Yep.
You say you're only setting up individual accounts, you wouldn't have a joint account like
Yeah, that'd be okay.
my wife and myself.
Mhm.
And will the rate be posted more on the website whether we open an account or not?
Yes,
We
sir.
have to open an account before.
No, sir.
Great.
You can see the rates before you open an account. We would encourage everyone though to always be prepared. So I mean, if that's what you want to do, just make sure you set your own expectations so that.
Is that not a deal like?
Well, there's 600. It's a smaller transaction, so I want to be sensitive about that as well. Again, this is one of the reasons why we wanted to come and present, and be able to answer questions, so that we can do our best to prepare for the transaction today. Yes, ma'am.
Did I hear the words tax exempt interest?
Yes, ma'am. So this is a tax exempt municipal bond, and if you're a resident of the state of Kansas, state tax exempt, and it's federal tax exempt as well. Yes, sir.
The risk with munis is default.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not concerned about the city's default, I'm more concerned about your default. What happens if you go belly up?
So your investments are insured by the SIPC. I'd encourage you to check out SIPC. We're also backstopped by our clearing broker, Hilltop Securities, and our firm is also well capitalized. So I mean, it's a valid concern. Many people thought the same thing when Merrill Lynch almost went bankrupt in 2008, and Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns. There's typically a workout provision, and those brokers return the securities of an individual to the individual. We don't hold these. When you buy a bond, they're your bonds, not Neighborly's. Does that answer your question?
Or less.
And when I was doing an account, it talked about other opportunities. Are there other opportunities for municipal bonds through Neighborly with, other municipalities? Or I didn't really understand that. And they said, we'll send you an email based on the interests that you indicated. Or can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So we have done deals in the past, and we'll doing deals now and we'll be doing deals in the future. So in your sign up process, you will indicate where you live as well as your interests. Say if you're passionate about education or public transportation. And once we have bonds coming up, we will let you know to indicate your on depending on the on what you indicated that you're interested in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that happen very often, or just now and then, or?
So this week, for example, we were in an Oregon housing transaction. We're we're expected to be in multiple transactions
Yeah.
in the future. I think our next one that we have on that we've accepted is a New York transaction. Again, there are bonds that are sold competitively that we're looking at. There are other negotiated transactions that we're trying to get in. We feel the biggest benefit to individuals if they want market prices is to participate in the new issue market. And that as opposed to a secondary market, you may, depending on your spot, may be able to find a little bit better, maybe you'll find a little bit better rate, but it may not be the maturity that you need. So in order to maximize what you're looking for your particular situation, with these bonds, as an example, you have the ability to pick your maturity, potentially pick the amount that you want and move forward.
I've always thought of bonds being a low risk, like you put in $1,000 at 1%, so you're going to get back $1,100. And to me, that doesn't seem like a risk. What are these risks that you're speaking about? Because that doesn't sound like bond vocabulary to me, but I'm not too knowledgeable about it.
Well, I'd be remiss to say that there isn't a degree of risk in bonds. There is. The rating should indicate the level of risk. The city of Lawrence is in the top rating category, and their financials. We've studied their financials, and their financials are sound, but there is a risk potentially of a default.
And that would be if the city defaulted.
Yes, ma'am.
That's where we're kind of-
Yes, ma'am. So that means they would pay on. They could. I wouldn't.
No. Now we are AA1. The highest rating is AAA, and we're one notch below the AAA at the AA1 rate. So.
Is at least the investment guaranteed?
It is.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, when your bond matures, we have full expectations to repay you at the bond par and the interest rate that's stated on your bond.
Correct, but if this default happens and I invested $5,000 and I lose out on the interest, am I still gonna get the $5,000 back?
You would then. So the way the workout process would typically work would be like in any bankruptcy. You would potentially come and demand assets from the city, and you'd work with the bankruptcy court to figure out how to.
And so it would be to the city?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how. So these are also registered as general obligation bonds. So general obligation bonds, especially in the state of Kansas, it means that we have a general obligation to pay these bonds. There's a provision that if we are going into bankruptcy or something happens, we have to raise your taxes, if you will, to make sure that we can make these bond payments. That's what the general obligation, it's pledged upon the general obligation of the city's tax base to make these payments. And that's why our rating is as high as it is. I will say it's higher than the state of Kansas, but.
So while the risk is, while the risk is small, again, there is still a risk. And it's not, we're gonna be as straight shooting as we possibly can. So, there is a risk to these bonds.
Yeah, and the city
Even though
has
it's small.
and the city has done like a great job at explaining all the risks and the risk factors. If you go into documents and review the POS as well, it's here. You have preliminary official statement. Also, one other thing as well that I'm super excited about here. I have a background in research, and I research on municipal bonds at the Kennedy School for the past 3 years, and one of the numbers that struck me is that like in recent years, less than 1% of American households own municipal bonds directly, and it has decreased significantly from back before. Like I live in San Francisco now. For example, the Golden Gate Bridge was funded by municipal bonds and funded by the residents of San Francisco and the Marion County to connect the two. So I was very excited to see leadership like Brian here in the city of Lawrence who opened up this bond issuance to allow the citizens to have first dibs into this investment, which is tax free at both the federal and the state level if you live in the state of Kansas.
So the interest is not taxable either.
Correct. It's tax exempt. Yeah, so the interest you earn on it may be exempt from your.
So, and that's a good point. So while you're weighing different options, I mean, you would weigh the benefit that you would get for that too.
So the rate you're going to quote tomorrow, is that simple or compound?
Yeah, it does not accrete. So that, like, this is not a zero
So
coupon
it's-
bond. It is.
So
Yeah.
it's if you 1%, you get $100 every year on $1,000.
You would get $50 every 6 months.
That's $100 a year.
Correct.
Yep.
But it's paid.
It's paid
Yeah,
twice.
it's payable
Twice.
every 6 months. It's it's
So then-
calculated
so-
on a
so
30.
So then does the 1,100 then earn the 2.4% then?
No, so the interest will be
Oh, yeah.
transferred to your ACH bank account that you
Okay, so
on
it's
every
all-
6 months.
Yes, it does not compound onto the principal.
And you can, reinvest those interest payment if you like.
When the interest is paid, is that just deposited back into our account?
If you choose, I mean, if some people choose to leave it in, then buy more bonds and do like what you're talking about.
If you leave it in, though it doesn't compound,
Correct, unless you make a separate investment decision.
and that's what
Unless you make a separate investment decision.
the document is.
Correct.
And you said this is open to citizens first, not businesses? Can local businesses buy these bonds? In this first preliminary 4-day period or whatever, or is it only citizens?
Yeah, if they're working on behalf, like, for example, we've had interest from, like a registered investment advisor, for example, or a trust company. If they're working on behalf of a resident of the city of Lawrence, then they would qualify. So if that's what you mean by business, but, I don't know if Weavers would call us up and, want to buy bonds or,
Well, and that's, I guess what I'm asking, if Weavers decided to do it, are they part of that first 4 days?
if they set up their account with, with that and, they would qualify their account, then we would present that to the city and, in the order period. So,
Do you anticipate this selling out fairly quickly, or do you just not know,
I know that I will receive $654,000 from Neighborly. Now, whether or not, how much of that came originally from citizens, I'd love to see them all sold by local, obviously. I just love that idea. I see interest here about being more, go out and look at my finance webpage. I mean, I love seeing people excited about that. But to answer that, I certainly don't know, and I don't know if anyone could certify that. I mean, past history, you guys want to talk about that?
so in the finance world, Lawrence, Kansas is a really good name. So people typically clamor for an opportunity to buy Lawrence, Kansas bonds because the credit is what it is. So I have every expectation that this will sell out. When a firm commits to underwrite through a firm commitment, then that's their belief that they'll be able to sell all the bonds. So
Yeah.
I'm feel confident that this deal will go well.
Yep.
I have to go. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
There's a 4-day window of opportunity here for making this choice, unless it sells out sooner.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. The order period will open tomorrow at 9 a.m. and expected to close on Monday at 5 p.m. If it's sold out, we may close the order period sooner. Yeah. Any other questions? If not, we'll.
So you talked about investing in the future, and you said this transaction is commission-free. So can you tell us about what your commissions might be for future transactions? As a bond purchaser?
Sure. I mean, Neighborly is a for-profit company, so like our goal is to help connect individuals to issuers, and in the new issue transactions, our fees are typically disclosed in the underwriting section. So we would be proposing and competing on a fee basis with every other bank. So we would have a market rate on our fee. I think the typical market rate on bonds, if I were to look at the whole bond universe, is typically between $3 and $5 a bond. And when I say a bond, I mean per $1,000. So I don't know if that answers your question, but typically bonds are sold with a markup or on a spread basis. So I would offer you an investment at, say, 1.2%, and at that 1.2%, you said that works for my situation. The fees for bonds are normally included inside of that rate. So hopefully that makes sense.
And you said it was 1 to 10 years? Are the choices?
Yes,
Correct, yes. Maturity starting in 2018 until 2027, and it's due in September.
And like a bank, do you have to provide your social security number on this account page?
So during the account setup process, to complete your account setup, you would have to do that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to follow all the procedures and make sure that we're vetting each one of we know our customers.
Yep.
So that is part of every brokerage account.
And we're like every other brokerage account. We're a broker dealer registered, under the supervisions of all of the agencies.
General question. You said this was a competition, or you entered, Lawrence entered.
Yeah.
Is this a movement across the country? So did you get quite a few, as the underwriter, I guess, did you get quite a few applications? I mean, is this a nice trend that's happening in America? Or did you get 4 and awarded all 4?
Oh, no. We had a competitive competition, and we interview all of the cities that applied, and yeah, we see it across the country, from the East Coast, from the West Coast, from the Midwest, from Texas. So some of the winners are Burlington, Vermont, Somerville, Massachusetts, Austin, Texas, Lawrence, Kansas, and Housing Trust Silicon Valley, which is based in San Jose, California. So we do get a lot of interest, and it's very refreshing to see a lot of cities across the country to see this opportunity for their residents.
Question for Brian.
Yeah.
Did you have your choice of which bonds since you
Yeah.
issued 3 last night?
Yeah.
Why did you choose the lesser of the 4?
I'm pretty conservative by nature. No offense to the group, I originally, we did a green bond yesterday, which is the first green bond in Kansas, and one of the few actually in the Midwest. Originally, I was anticipating doing the green bond with them, and green bond just basically means that we've certified, or that the proceeds from that transaction is going to go to sustainable purposes. And so it was denoted as a green bond. There were so many new things going on with that. I had certifications and different type of paperwork. It was just one of those, it kind of got a little overwhelming then to, on top of that, do this new type of transaction with it. And so, quite honestly, I entered it, the 11 million. I listened to your broadcast. You guys had this webinar, and then and I went back, and I'm going to be doing a fire truck transaction, and I just thought, well, this is something that people You know, the other option was the North Lawrence sewer pump, which I think North Lawrence citizens might have been interested in, but maybe not the whole community. And so I went into the transactions we were gonna do the year in a fire truck. It's red, it's beautiful, these people out there, people make that connection, and so that's why I picked the fire truck.
I just thought maybe you might save some more money by going with a larger bond with no transaction.
Yeah, again, believe me, I thought of that. But I'm very first, I'm a risk adverse person. I would hope you would all appreciate your finance director being that way. And so I thought, you know, part of this is the cost of staff doing it. And now, whereas we had some great staff pull together and do the marketing. It was just so unknown for us. Now, as it turned out, it probably would have worked just fine. But again, it was just that unknown at that time. And we will further look at further transactions to see if it makes sense. I come from a background, been doing it for 25 years. I used to work for a municipal advisor firm that it was beat into our heads, competitive sell, competitive sell, competitive sell, which basically you take bids at the time of when we sell the bonds, which is what we did yesterday. There's not a lot of communities that do the negotiated sell because it's a little bit more complicated. It's in some ways, not with these gentlemen, confrontational. I've been in transactions where you're fighting for the citizens, they're fighting for their customers, and so honestly, I didn't want to do that on this first deal for the city, so I picked one.
So are we to then expect yields that are going to be similar to the bonds yesterday?
I would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we use that as our baseline of our scale for our negotiations this morning. So we took the scales that we achieved from, I don't recall, I think it was the green bonds that we took.
Mix of both.
A little mix of both, yeah. And we first thing was that this morning? Yeah, first thing this morning.
8 a.m.
8 a.m. we had a call and just started hammering. I wouldn't even say hammering the numbers. It was fairly straightforward because we did a competitive deal yesterday. In other transactions, and I'm sorry, I know we want to have time for question and answer. You geek out, sure. I really geek out about this stuff too. And a lot of transactions, it's hard to find what that comparable sell is. So if we wouldn't have sold at the same time, the day after we sold the competitive sell, it may have been a little bit more difficult to say, here's what the rates should be, because it wasn't done at the same period of time, everything being equal. So I'm happy we did it at the same time, because to me it was easier. Here's what we had yesterday. What has interest rates done today? The only reason we're not releasing them right now is because, who knows what's going to happen in the next 4 hours. So again, risk adverse. I fully anticipate that the interest rates will come out as we believe they're going to come out at 9 o'clock Central tomorrow. So
I can't believe a fire truck costs $645.
let me be clear. It's $754,000.
Yeah, which firehouse is this going to? Tell us a
So
little
this
bit
is
about
Danielle. Are you back? Danielle's back there.
I can't remember.
Okay, this is truck 40. 4? Fire Station 4, I believe. I think that's how they have them numbered, is numbered to the station, so this will be Firehouse 4. It is being built right now. We do get pictures frequently. Mark Bradford, he's very proud. All those ladies and gentlemen over there, they're very proud. It's a good organization. So yeah, that's being built right now, and I believe it's number 4. If they're still out there, they'd probably be able to answer that question better than I could. When we first started talking about this, I actually called, can we have people sign it? I was like, can we get the ride on it? Yeah.
Get a t-shirt.
That's not, that's good.
Let's take one more question. maybe,
Okay,
and then,
all right.
I want to be sensitive to any introverts that would rather talk to us personally too. So,
I'm enjoying living in Lawrence, but I want to get back to Washington DC. I buy a batch of bonds tomorrow, like my zip code changes. Are you gonna chase me down in DC and?
to pay your interest, we definitely will.
Okay.
We'll make sure you get your payment. I mean, that's our.
You don't have to like.
But your interest. So based on your.
I know.
The interest rate may not be tax exempt on a state level if you live in Washington DC. But I mean, if you are living here and you're buying these bonds on, as a Kansas resident, I mean, you want to take that into account when you may want to make your investment decision.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's our.
But yeah, but you can hold to maturity. The zip code restriction is just for the allocation of the order period at the initial purchase.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay. Well, we're going to stick around for a little bit too, so feel free to come. We'll talk bonds. Right?
Thank you for your interest in the city. I do appreciate that. And please, I know I recognize a few faces out here, but budget time's coming up. Be involved. Check our websites out. And thank you.
Yeah. And I just want to say that, I've worked with municipalities across the country, and Brian and the city of Lawrence is very well run, and we really enjoy working with the city. So thank you for this opportunity to be here. Yeah.
Do a good job.